So First Peoples Fund's mission. Our mission here is to honor and support the creative community-centered First Peoples artists and nurture the collective spirit that allows them to sustain their people. Um, Collective spirit is that which manifests self-awareness and a sense of responsibility to sustain the cultural fabric of a community. So this is the mission of our organization here. And let's see, Jaren will tell you a little bit more about the grant making initiatives.
Thank you, Rachel, and welcome everyone. I'm sure you're all here today to learn more about First Peoples Fund grant-making initiatives for individuals. And there's three primary programs that we're going to talk about today. The Jennifer Easton Community Spirit Awards. This is a national award for cultural bearers who exemplify their traditional values and extend their practice into the community. And then we have two fellowship programs. The Artist in Business Leadership Fellowship is a self-directed independent arts fellowship. It provides resources to help your business thrive and grow. And the Cultural Capital Fellowship also provides resources to conduct specific cultural and community-centered projects. I'll pass it back to Rachel to share a little bit more about the Jennifer Easton Community Spirit Award.
Thank you. So the Jennifer Easton Community Spirit Award. So every year, First Peoples Fund honors and celebrates exceptional Native artists and cultural bearers across the country through the Jennifer Easton Community Spirit Award. Selected artists embody their people's cultural assets and their creations and their way of life. And this year, the award amount is for, well, not this year, but for 2024, the award amount for the CSA is $25,000. And four honorees will be selected for the year 2024. That is a two-part process, and right now we're going through the nomination process. The deadline is July 31st, 2023, which is today. It's not too late to get your nomination in. The time to submit is 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So you still have time to submit your nomination for the Jennifer Easton Community Spirit Award. As I mentioned, it is a two-part process. We are in the nomination process. Part two of the Jennifer Easton Community Spirit Award is the nominee process, and where the nominator and the nominee work together on completing their application and getting it in before the deadline, which is September 20th, 2023. Okay.
The two fellowships that I mentioned briefly are 1 year, and they intend to strengthen Native artists and cultural bearers' business skills and ensures that art, culture, and ancestral knowledge are passed from one generation to the next. There are two distinct fellowships you could apply for, and they are announced each year in January. Selected individuals may receive up to $10,000, and funds may be used to extend your practice in your community or to grow your business. Fellowships also include opportunities for professional development and technical assistance throughout the year. Next slide.
Mm-hmm.
Go over the eligibility criteria for the fellowships. So the applicant must be 18 years at the time of the application. You must be an enrolled member or provide proof of lineal descendancy. You'll see that there's an upload section where you will provide this in the application. And you can apply in the same program in succession. So for example, if you're a current ABL or Cultural Capital Fellow, you would not be eligible to apply in this cycle. You'd have to wait until your fellowship has commenced and you can apply in the next cycle. And then if you have a previous grant from the First Peoples Fund, you'd have to close out and submit a final report to any previously awards received to be eligible to apply for the fellowships. Rachel's going to go into each eligibility criteria a little more deeply in the next slide.
Okay, so the eligibility criteria for the Jennifer Easton Community Spirit Award, which we also call the CSA, is to be a practicing Native artist who has demonstrated a lifetime of commitment to their art, be engaged in their work for at least 10 years, and again, be a documented affiliate of a United States tribe, American Indian, Alaskan Native, or Native Hawaiian. Again, that is the criteria specifically for the CSA application, again, which is due, the nomination is due by 11:59 this evening, so you still have time to nominate an artist within your community. The eligibility criteria for the Artist in Business Leadership, we also call that the ABL, is designed for emerging and established artists. Again, be committed to pursuing art as a way to build a business and support themselves and their families. Have a strong vision and articulated plan for implementing effective market strategies over the 1-year fellowship period, and explore new projects and works with this opportunity. Again, that is the criteria for the Artist in Business Leadership, also known as ABL. The next one is cultural capital. Again, we refer to that sometimes as the CC. And the Cultural Capital Fellowship is designed for artists who are grounded in the rich cultural heritage of their tribal nation. They share a commitment to passing on ancestral knowledge and practices within their communities, have a plan to document their ancestral knowledge for future generations, and seek ways to sustain cultural sharing as a way of life within their tribal community. Again, that is the eligibility criteria for each of these opportunities: the Jennifer Easton Community Spirit Award, CSA, Artist in Business Leadership, ABL, and the Cultural Capital, CC. I do see a couple of, let's see, questions in the chat, and I see that Jaren has answered that. Thank you, Jaren. So any questions? We like to hold on to answering those towards the end of the presentation. Okay, so ineligible for support, student work completed for academic credit or as part of an academically supported project, program, or residency. So again, if there are submissions for student works, those are not eligible for these opportunities. Projects affiliated or sponsored by colleges or universities, artists and cultural bearers who received a residency in the previous year, current First Peoples Fund Fellows, and artists ensembles who have outstanding FPF reports. So those are not eligible for support. Moving on to our next slide.
Now I'd like to share some components of the application process. As Rachel mentioned, the CSA is due today, and you have some time to collect those materials, and the fellowships are at the beginning of August. So we know you want to begin to compile your materials, look through the application questions, and make sure that you have a pretty complete package before you go into the online form, which it would be in Submittable. You'll navigate to the First Peoples Fund website. You'll find the related program that you're applying to, and on that page, you will find a link to the Submittable online application. The documentations that you will want to also prepare include that proof of tribal affiliation, 2 letters of recommendation, ideally from community members who could speak to you and your work. You want to think about your work plan and some timelines and the approach at which you're going to plan out the fellowship year. You'll also be asked for a budget, and this will be a similar guidelines for how you use the funds in support of developing your project. We want to have you upload your artist statement. a paragraph about your personal practice and your approach to your art making, your connection to your community. We ask for a resume that details your background and expertise and arts activities. Include some marketing and promotional samples. Share any news or flyers or materials that you've generated through social media that promotes and extends your work into the community. Artwork samples. This gives us an opportunity to look at visual samples or video of your work. There's also an opportunity to submit written samples if you're an author or a creative writer. And then we also want to see descriptions of each of those artwork samples and a photograph of yourself. This is used in the event that you are selected, and we like to highlight and celebrate you once we make those announcements in the beginning of the year. If you have any questions about how to compile or draft your narrative responses and questions that will go into the application, please feel free to reach out for the deadline. We're happy to walk you through or answer any questions that you may have along the way. Next slide.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the application links and deadlines are here. The application deadline, again, as mentioned, the nominations for the Jennifer Easton Community Spirit Award are 11:59 tonight, Mountain Standard Time. So if you want to, again, nominate an artist in your community, you certainly have time to do so. The Artist in Business Leadership, that application is going to be due in a week on August 7th. 2023. The Cultural Capital, again, CC Fellowship is going to be due in 2 weeks on August 14th. Award notifications will go out in December 2023. And if you want to, again, and I encourage you to apply, there is the First Peoples Fund website. And on the home page of the website, you have all of this information. These fellowship links are available there. So you can certainly go to the homepage for First Peoples Fund, where you can find the link, more information again about each of these opportunities, and apply through the link provided on the homepage. Okay.
Once you've had an opportunity to visit our website, to go to the links, to read more information, to open up the application, you have questions along the way, my name is Jaren. Please feel free to send me an email, call me here, and we look forward to receiving your applications, to responding to your inquiries and questions, and supporting you in any way along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I do see some questions in the chat, Rachel. The first one is from Ashley. Is the CC Fellowship only for tribal nations? Are we able to apply as BIPOC?
Yes, the fellowships, the Jennifer Easton, the CSA, the ABL, and the CC fellowships. To apply for those three, you have to submit again documentation from the tribal community. You have to provide proof of tribal enrollment. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And if someone was going to provide proof of descendancy, what would be an acceptable documentation for that?
Well, from my experience and in the past, they would have to supply proof of, again, descendancy from whomever maybe it's their mother or their father. Um, that has to be there. But in addition to that, I've encouraged and recommended that the letter of recommendations, again, come from the community members, tribal government, tribal leaders, who can, again, attest to your enrollment status.
Thank you, Rachel. The next question is from Florette. Can we use links? I think this is about work samples. So is there an opportunity to provide work sample links?
In the past, through the submittable platform, it hasn't been really helpful. I would strongly recommend using, again, images, JPEG, PDF. At some, I believe some applications, if I can recall correctly, again, had a PDF document with some links in there. And so what I encouraged the reviewers to do was copy those links and paste them into the URL. So that was helpful, but doing it directly within submittables for the reviewers was somewhat challenging. So I would suggest and recommend that if you can create a PDF file with all these links, that would probably be most beneficial for those that are going to be reviewing your application.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have another work sample related question from Gianni. Mm-hmm. If our samples are from things we've done during undergrad, is that okay?
Yes, that is fine. Mm-hmm. As long as they, as long as you have graduated and you're not a student.
Great. And Gianni's second question is it possible to structure a project that involves the facilitation of involvement from tribal communities across the state for the CC Fellowship?
Yes, it is. But I would also encourage you to, I heard tribal communities from across the state. So I would encourage you to, in the application, within the application, there are 3 goals. So we ask for goal 1, 2, and 3. And I would encourage you to make those goals, something that you feel that you can do within a fellowship year. I know there are several challenges that, sometimes pop up within a fellowship year. So as long as that you feel you are capable and can do, and it doesn't call too much stress on you to, work with communities across the state within a fellowship year, then please feel free to do so, yes. I think one example of something that kind of caused an obstacle for a fellow was they were planning on doing summer classes, which was cultural capital related, and then come to find out that everybody's summers are very, very busy. So she reworked her work plan so that she can provide her classes in the fall. So again, those types of things happen, and as long as you continue to communicate with the fellowship, the program manager, and then just keep that update happening. But again, these things happen. So when you start to facilitate and work with different communities across the state, just keep in mind that time frame.
Great tips, Rachel. Another question from Florette. What are the word counts for some of the questions?
I believe some of them were in previous years, maybe 150 to 300. I would recommend 3 paragraphs.
Those are all the questions I see in the chat. Feel free to raise your hand or ask a question if you would like to.
Okay, so while we're waiting, and if any other questions come up, I'll share again the application links and deadlines. Again, July 31st, today is the nomination for the Jennifer Easton Community Spirit Award. August 7th, next Monday, Artist and Business Leadership Fellowship. August 14th, the Cultural Capital Fellowship. And again, award notifications will happen in December 2023. And you can apply through our website, firstpeoplesfund.org. On the homepage, this information is there with links to submittable to each of these opportunities so that you can apply there as well. Also, the application checklist.
Rachel, do you recommend only applying for one fellowship, or if you have two ideas, could you submit to both?
Yes, you can only submit to one. Either the Cultural Capital or the Artist in Business Leadership Fellowship. Again, the work plan, the goals, objectives, and the timeline. Make sure to, again, plan out your fellowship year. In my experience, listening to the reviewers, that was something that they would question is, can these goals, be achievable within this time frame? So make sure when you are planning out your application that you have goals that you can achieve within that time frame of 12 months. I have had questions come in regarding the budget. So anything you could, again, up to that $10,000 amount that you think that you may need assistance with, resources, tools, be sure to put that in your budget. One question came up this morning in regards to resume, and this was a question from an academic who's also an artist as well. So they have they wanted to know if they can submit a CV instead of a resume, and I encouraged them to do so as long as their art and their art practice was reflected in that CV as well. Again, marketing and promotional samples. We do ask for your images. I believe it was 8 to 10 images of your artwork. So be prepared to share that information as well, and make sure that your images are, good quality images. The reviewers do look at that, and sometimes we do, in the past, have gotten blurry images. So that I would encourage you to, submit some nice images, and be prepared to have that in your application as well.
Yeah, those are great tips about images, Rachel. Isn't a little video available on our YouTube channel about how to document artwork?
Yes, so First People's Fund has a YouTube channel as well. And if you go to YouTube and you search for First People's Fund, on our subscribers page, you can look for the title, and her name is Roxanne Best. I'll put her name in the chat. Or if you can do that for me, Jaren, that'd be great. Her name is Roxanne Best. And Roxanne provides a short tutorial on how to take pictures of your art and submit them to the application. So you can always review that as well. And how to use your iPhone and do, lighting. She runs through all of those elements of photographing your work.
Yeah, I'll find the link and add it to the chat. I see a few more questions coming in from Florette again. Are exhibitions considered community outreach for the purpose of education and sharing?
I'm going to say yes, and you're going to have to frame that. I would encourage you to frame that in your application. So how would you, the question would be, how are you going to frame that? And what would you want to share with the reviewers about, about that being part of community? So you certainly can.
Great. Deanna asks, if you have a project that exceeds the maximum amount of the fellowship, is that acceptable?
Yes, that is acceptable. We've had artists in the past, for example, who were working on documentary projects, and they did ask, I would really like 10,000 of this, let's say, to go to, the writers or the researchers of this documentary project. And they would also supply us and share with us that they're also applying to this, another grant to pay for, to cover another part of that cost. So yes, you can. You just have to, again, be very clear about what that is going to cover within your fellowship.
Fantastic. And Andrea asked, you mentioned something about adding marketing or promotional materials. Is that written within the artist statement, or can you explain more about what we mean by marketing samples?
You can put that in your artist statement, yes. For cultural capital, what we have had in the past, again, cultural capital, CC, community-oriented fellowship, is we've had fellows submit, for example, flyers of classes that they have taught or that they have shared. One very specific example is we've had a beater who was doing a beading class, and she did 6 beading classes. So she created flyers for each of these classes and times with Zoom links. At that time, it was COVID. It still is, I understand that. But she did provide a link and all the information to attend her beading class, and it was a flyer that she presented. So that was something that we could see, that she was very involved in sharing her art practice, sharing it with the community, and she also applied the linguistic knowledge and cultural knowledge to her application, and all of that was present in her flyer. So that was very helpful in seeing what she was doing, what she wanted to do, and what she needed support for.
I just added the link to the fellowships page of the First Peoples Fund websites where you can access the links on where to the application links. And I don't see any other questions.
Okay, so my final recommendations for those of you that are submitting your applications, whether it be AVL, CC, your 2-letter recommendations, again, as Jaren mentioned, make sure, if you can get those letter of recommendations from your community, again, an elder, maybe another artist within the community, that could really help your application. A work plan, again, very clear goals, clear objectives, and a timeline. Make sure that what you're presenting, your goals 1, 2, and 3, are achievable within that time frame. Okay. Make sure that your budget is clear. We've had applications in the past where budgets were very unclear, and so that created a discussion. So again, make sure that your budgets are very clear, and you let us know what it is you need support for. Your artist statements, again, pretty self-explanatory. Resume, CV is acceptable as long as your CV, again, can articulate what your art practice, your art genre. Marketing promotional samples, again, all of those come as JPEG, TIFF, if needed, PDF. Again, if you are going to be sharing links, make sure that's all in one document. Let me see. And again, a photograph of yourself. Yes. Any other questions or concerns before we end our application webinar for today?
I see a question come in. How many samples can be submitted for the promotional samples?
I would recommend at least maybe 2 to 4. Again, it gives, from my experience working with the reviewers, it gives them enough information to see what you're doing and who you're doing it with and how you're doing it. But also be sure to include just as much information on your art and your art practice so they can get a good idea of what it is you're creating and how you're creating it. All right, well, if there are no other questions or concerns, again, the link is provided there in the chat. You have the application checklist. ABL is due in 1 week. CC is due in 2 weeks. I look forward to seeing all your names coming through submittable. And again, if you have any other questions or concerns moving forward, please feel free to reach out to both Jaren or myself as well. All right.